Dean Martin was an incredibly charismatic and talented man. He had many skills and became famous for his work as a singer, actor, comedian, and recording artist. Dean never failed to entertain his fans, and his endless confidence and alluring personality earned him the nickname the King of Cool. Everybody wanted to be as cool as Dean Martin, and he was the kind of man that most people would have given up their life savings just to be friends with. Dean Martin's charming croon made him quite a hit among the ladies, and his iconic voice was on par with the likes of Frank Sinatra. Dean was actually incredibly good friends with Frank, as well as Sammy Davis Jr. Together, they formed the signature group known as the Rat Pack, a team of A-list entertainers who were especially popular in Las Vegas during the 60s. Dean Martin began his career by performing a music comedy act with fellow comedian Jerry Lewis. They had a rocky start, but after performing steadily in nightclubs, they were able to take their act to radio. Dean may have begun his career working closely with another artist, but after the two had a falling out, he proved competent and talented enough to have a successful solo career as well. He launched countless successful records and appeared in numerous hit films. While he did start his career as a comedian, he was able to prove himself as a talented dramatic actor. Dean Martin sang, acted, and joked his way into the heart of America. And over 2 decades after his death, he remains one of the most beloved entertainers in American history. Like many celebrities, Dean Martin was an eccentric and often quirky man. Interviewers and fellow artists were always surprised to learn something new and shocking about his life. His path to stardom was a long and winding road, and he was barred by many challenges along the way. Of course, Dean's undeniable talent ultimately prevailed through it all. Despite a rather interesting childhood and early career, he was incredibly successful once he managed to find a foothold in show business. In today's video, we're going to look at some of the crazy details of Dean Martin's life. Make sure you stick around, because we're also going to reveal the odd, guilty pleasure he secretly loved. He didn't learn English until he was 5 years old. Dean Martin was actually born Dino Paul Crosetti. He was born June 7, 1917, in Steubenville, Ohio, to parents Angela and Gaetano Alfonso Crosetti. His father was an Italian immigrant, and his mother was Italian-American. As a result, they spoke only Italian while Dean was a child. It wasn't until he attended school that he began to speak English. While Dean would eventually go down in history as one of the most popular entertainers in America, the same couldn't be said about his childhood. While he attended Grant Elementary School in Ohio, he was ruthlessly bullied for his broken English. He had a secret guilty pleasure. While Dean Martin eventually learned to speak English very well, he never was particularly fond of reading. In fact, he only read one full book his entire life, Black Beauty. However, secretly, he was in love with comic books. After developing a distinctly cool persona on stage, Dean became worried that if the public found out about his hobby, it would ruin his image. As a result, he had his friend and fellow comedian Jerry Lewis purchase comic books for him. His friend would then sneak him the comic books for Dean Martin to read in the privacy of his own home. Of course, once everyone found out Dean loved to read comic books, it didn't damage his reputation at all. In fact, it made him seem more human. He suffered from severe claustrophobia. A lot of people think claustrophobia is simply disliking small spaces. In reality, however, a phobia is far more debilitating than a sense of unease. Phobias cause irrational and extreme fear. Dean Martin suffered from severe claustrophobia, and he particularly hated elevators, which he usually referred to as coffins. Whenever he booked a hotel, he would be sure to get a room on a low floor, so he wouldn't have to walk up several flights of stairs. On one occasion, however, he had to walk up 18 flights, and he absolutely refused to take the elevator. He changed his name twice. Dean Martin was originally Dino Paul Crosetti. Of course, it's common in show business for entertainers to change their names so they sound and look more dazzling. Marilyn Monroe, Whoopi Goldberg, and Vin Diesel are just a few of the celebrities who changed their names. When Dean Martin initially entered show business, he changed his name to Dino Martini. This turned out to be a bad idea, because it was very similar to a popular Italian opera singer named Nino Martini. He eventually settled on Dean Martin, a more Americanized version of his second name. The new name concealed his Italian heritage, which may have been intentional. He was an amateur boxer. Before Dean Martin found himself in the limelight, he worked as an amateur boxer. He started boxing when he was 15 under the name Kid Crochet. Unfortunately, he wasn't very good at it. He hardly got paid, and as a result, he often couldn't even afford to tape his knuckles. This led to a lot of broken bones. At one point, he lost 11 out of 12 bouts. He did shape up later on, though, and his record was 24 wins and 6 losses. Still, it wasn't long before Dean realized he wasn't cut out to be a boxer, and eventually decided it was time for a change in career. Thank goodness Dean changed career paths when he did, or we may never have learned about his incredible talent. Make sure you stick around until the very end of this video, where we'll reveal how Dean Martin's multifaceted skill set led him to break a record on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And if you're enjoying this video so far, please take a moment to like it and subscribe to our channel for more. He called the police on his wife's party. Despite his charisma on stage, Dean Martin was actually quite shy in person. In one interview, he admitted, "I was ashamed of the way I spoke," which can likely be attributed to the horrible bullying he faced as a child. As a result, he wasn't much of a partier. While his friends were spending the night laughing and drinking, Martin would go home early, get a good night's sleep, and wake up early to golf. On one occasion, his wife threw a party at his house. Dean sat in the other room, growing increasingly annoyed by the noise. He then called the police and pretended to be a concerned neighbor. The police arrived and broke up the party, and Dean was able to spend the rest of his night enjoying some peace and quiet. He defeated the Beatles. In the 1960s, Beatlemania had gripped all of Europe and America. At the time, nobody could dislodge their music from the #1 spot on the Billboard charts. In 1964, however, Dean released his version of Everybody Loves Somebody. It soared in popularity and took the coveted #1 spot, knocking the Beatles' A Hard Day's Night out of place. Stunned by his victory, Dean sent a gloating telegram to Elvis Presley, whose career had begun to wane. It read, "If you can't handle the Beatles, I'll do it for you, Pally." Jealousy ended his partnership with Jerry Lewis. Dean Martin started his career with fellow comedian Jerry Lewis. Their opening act was so bad that the owner of the nightclub where they performed threatened to fire them. They soon found their groove, however, and worked together for many years. Unfortunately, the relationship became fraught with jealousy, and when Martin was cropped out of a picture for Look magazine while Jerry made the cover, he decided to call it quits. The two broke up their act on their 10th anniversary of performing together. Tragedy caused him to abandon a role. For a time in the 60s, Dean played the role of spy Matt Helm in a series of movies. Tragically, however, his co-star Sharon Tate was murdered by the Manson family. Shocked and saddened by the tragedy, Martin knew he couldn't perform the role without her by his side. He quit the series soon after. A triple threat. Sadly, Dean Martin died December 25, 1995, from lung cancer. The world was deeply saddened by the loss, and he's not been forgotten. Dean has gone down in history for his talent in many different areas of the entertainment industry. As a result, he became the only celebrity to ever receive 3 different stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. The different stars commemorate his contributions to film, TV, and music. Dean Martin was an incredibly talented man with a quirky personality. Were you more surprised to learn about his secret love of comic books, or how much he hated parties? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to Facts Verse for more.